Well, thank you very much, Don, and I am really blown away by the turnout here today. We're competing with the noise of 84, but as Don mentioned, if you come here during rush hour, if you're here in Waterbury in about 5 hours from now, there'll be a lot less noise because cars won't be rushing by. They'll be standing in gridlock that happens along this stretch of 84 almost every day during morning and evening rush hour. And it is an example of what plagues our state. Don mentioned it. You cannot succeed as an economy here in Connecticut so long as you have clogged arteries preventing goods and people from coming back and forth to New York and Boston. We are losing thousands of jobs here in Connecticut because of our clogged arteries. In the medium and long run, we have to make an investment in Interstate 84 and in roads and bridges and rail lines throughout the state. But the turnout here today is really good for a bittersweet reason as well. There are a lot of men and women standing in this parking lot today who are out of work. We've lost 22,000 construction jobs just in the last 4 years alone. We have amongst the highest construction unemployment here in Connecticut anywhere in the nation. Funding for infrastructure creates jobs. And right now there is a disconnect happening between what Washington, D.C. is talking about and what people out in Main Street are talking about. We spent the whole summer talking about the debt ceiling. Well, people here in Waterbury spent the whole summer talking about job creation. There's nothing better to create jobs than putting money into fixing our atrophying roads and bridges. Now, we've made a big investment here in 84. We've completed the first 2 phases of this project. Now, it took us a little bit longer. We spent a little bit more money than we wanted, but it makes absolutely no sense to stop now. So, Senator Blumenthal and I are here today to tell you that when we go back down to Washington in September, we are going to be fighting with every ounce of our being for a robust transportation bill that fixes the underlying weaknesses of Connecticut's economy while creating tens of thousands of jobs here in Connecticut. That's our promise to you today. And the stakes are high. As Don mentioned, the bill that has been proposed in the House of Representatives would cut transportation funding to the state of Connecticut by 35%. We estimate that that cut in transportation funding to Connecticut could cost us another 6,000 jobs. We've already lost 20,000 jobs over the last 4 years. We could lose another 6,000 jobs if the Republican transportation bill moves through the House and the Senate. But as Senator Blumenthal will tell you, there is good news on his side of the Capitol. The Senate has proposed a robust transportation reauthorization bill that fully funds the account. We need to go down to Washington and tell both our Republican and Democratic colleagues that if they want to save our economy in the short run, we need to pass the Senate bill. But if they want to save this economy in the long run, then we have to pass the Senate bill too, because transportation funding is a double whammy. It creates jobs today, and it creates economic strength in the long run. So I'm thrilled at the turnout here today. I'm absolutely honored to stand with Senator Blumenthal, who is such a strong voice for this issue in Washington. But we shouldn't have to join here together in these massive numbers. People in Washington should know the common sense that lies behind transportation funding. I want to stand here with my colleagues, the mayor, our state legislators that are here in the near future to cut the ribbon on the final reopening of this Interstate 84 project. And it can only happen if we have a true partner in the federal government. So with that, we have a number of speakers here to join us today. Let me now introduce my friend and colleague, a great advocate for the Connecticut construction industry, Senator Richard Blumenthal.
Thank you. First, thank you to Chris Murphy for being such a really long-standing, effective advocate, not only of construction, but of the rights and interests of working men and women throughout the state of Connecticut. Working men and women in Connecticut have no better friend than Congressman Chris Murphy. And the construction industry the construction industry has no better advocate than Chris Murphy, and in my short time in the United States Senate, I've been there barely a little more than 6 months, I have learned a lot from Chris Murphy about what's important and how to achieve it. And let me say to you, we need this money for Connecticut because it is about jobs. It's about working men and women. It's about their families and their children and about our future. There is nothing Republican or Democratic about highway safety. There's nothing Republican or Democratic about a job. A job is a means to make a living and to guarantee a future, and we ought to have overwhelming bipartisan support for full funding in our transportation bill for I-84 and all of the projects throughout Connecticut that depend on it. And I can pledge to you, I'm going to fight for the Senate bill, which is called Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century. We need to move ahead for progress in the 21st century here in Connecticut and around the country. We need full funding for a program that creates jobs and enables folks in the hard hats and the men and women who build our highways and engage in transportation construction to make sure they have a living and we have safe and effective highways. Let me just close by saying my thanks to you, every one of you, for being here today. You know, talking, my hope is that the folks with the cameras turn it around and take pictures of you, and most especially the guys in the hard hats who are here today. And I know they may be a little bit embarrassed, but you folks are the ones who are important in this event. You get the job done, you do the work. We're going to fight hard in Washington to make sure that your work really is made possible, that you're enabled and empowered to do the work that you do so well, and that we have the Senate bill moving ahead for progress in the 21st century, not the House bill that will cut 35% of our funding, 6,000 jobs. We can't afford as a nation that kind of draconian cut. We need an outpouring of bipartisan support, and your being here today is a great beginning in that moving ahead with progress in this century. Thanks for being here, and thank you to Chris Murphy for your leadership.